Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2025 NFSP Annual Conference. Will you please give a warm welcome to your conference host and the NFSP Chair, Team Boothman.
Right, good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome to the 2025 National Federation of Sub-Postmasters Annual Conference. Second year back at the slate, after very good feedback and a good conference last year. I trust everybody had a safe journey here, and many thanks for you taking up a whole weekend and a bit to attend. On the drive down here, it suddenly occurred to me that this is my 25th consecutive conference. I started off as a very young delegate of the North East region, and my first conference was 2001 at Llandudno. I'd never been to Wales before. Hot topics at the time were the announcement that the government intended to migrate all pensions and benefits to bank accounts. Obviously, the concern at the time was how would the post office network survive without the benefit work? And I do remember the Postal Services Minister at the time attending, Stephen Byers, and he was late. And Norman Bradbrook, National President at the time, to fill the time, told jokes. It had a bit of an impression on me, but hopefully Minister Thomas will turn up on time because my jokes are awful. I'd just like to draw your attention to the Shoreham staff at the back. Just put your hand up and give us all a wave. You'll see these people floating around. If you've got any issues with your accommodation, meals, etc., please get in touch with them and they'll try to sort it out as best way they can. Just as a matter of interest, how many new delegates have we got here? Delegates for the first time, put your hands up. Well, that's amazing. Yeah, we did have lots of new second year at conference. Stick your hand up. Yep. Yeah, brilliant. It's very encouraging that probably over the last year since we last met, that engagement with the Federation has never been as good. You know, I certainly, through social media, phone calls, Teams meet, it's extremely encouraging that engagement with our organisation has never been at an all-time high. And that's good, because what we're about to encounter as a network is massive change. Thankfully, there is new people in Post Office Limited, a new chair, new CEO, new senior leadership team, and they will have the difficult task of instigating change, the change what's needed for a strong and viable network. But they can't do it on their own. They need you. And how do you go about doing that? That's very simple. The National Federation of Sub-Postmasters, end of. Years back, when the Federation was a trade union, we'd be sat here and the National President, during his opening speech, would do a little opening speech and would be straight on to motion 1, North Thames, East Anglia branch. Somebody would come up, propose a resolution, it would be debated, and then there'd be a straight vote. That would then become Federation policy. So we're not a trade union anymore, we're a trade association. So how do you formulate Federation policy. Well, one thing that we tried last year was question time panel. Worked very, very well. And despite it going on for 1 3/4 hours, people wanted it more. And you think, how do you actually come up with answers and solutions? Well, if you think about it, in the olden days when we used to debate motions at conference, there was only yourselves in the room. But at this conference, there are people in the room, part of the debate, that have the authority to make those changes. So this is your one chance to make a difference on behalf of yourself. And a lot of you, well, most of you, will be here to represent yourself. Quite rightly so. You're all independent business people. But don't forget the person that sat next to you, the person that sat at the back of the room, the person that sat at the front of the room, the person that's probably working in their post office as we speak at the other end of the country. There's a network of post offices out there. We have to work together for our own viable and successful future. So what I'm really saying is, yes, you're here for yourself, but you're here for your neighbour at the other end of the country as well. And I'm going to have to look at my list. I've actually covered everything. I'll just finish off by saying our organisation as we stand, as probably many of you will know, the grant funding agreement that started 10 years ago comes to an end in 2030. So from 2030, our organisation has to be self-sufficient. In effect, it has to work from both sides of the balance sheet. Currently, we get the money from the post office in the form of a grant funding, and we decide how to spend that money in the interests of how best to support as members. From 2030, we'll have to work at the other side of the balance sheet and actually earn that money as well. That's going to require a lot of work, which is already started, and Callum will obviously speak about that in a moment or two. But start to think about that. Start to think about what is your ideal organisation. What does the Federation of the future look like after 2030? And no organisation can be anything more than the sum of its own members' contributions and participation. So the more you contribute, the more you participate, the better the organisation will be for yourself and all your colleagues. So with that, I'll shut up. I've gone on long enough. And I'll welcome your CEO, Callum Greenow, to make his keynote speech. Thank you, everyone, and have a good conference.